So, welcome everyone on our most landmark conversation today with the American-born, British-raised actor, model, mental health advocate, and best-selling author of two most wonderful books, Sidhartha Mallya. This is our second time privilege to have him with us. This is Neeta Aneja, and I'm the founder of Trends Literature Series. So, welcome, Sidhartha. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks very much for having me back.
And first of all, many, many congratulations for your most awesome wedding that you just had. And it's been going Insta viral. Everyone wanted to cover you. So we've been reading all about it. Congratulations. So how
Thank
does
you
it
very much.
feel for you to be back with us? I mean, from our side, we are extremely excited.
No, it's great to be here. Any chance to talk about the books and mental health in general, it's something that I always look forward to doing. So happy to be here.
And I cannot resist but ask you this. So how proud do you feel for the fact that, you've come out with a second book? This has the same response and even more perhaps. I've been hearing such great things about the books all over. Fantastic reviews, fantastic people have been wanting to cover it. And the second time over, if I'm honest, I mean, it was a wonderful book. I remember we had such a wonderful conversation on that.
Yeah.
And now, sad glad. How do you feel about the whole situation? I mean, did you ever realize that you will turn a second time most bestseller? You'll have a bestseller.
Yeah, no, it obviously feels good. But more than anything, I'm just happy that the book has been received so well amongst people that it has an opportunity to help. I've always said that um, I'll continue doing whatever I can to spread awareness around mental health and well-being. So I'm just happy that the books are able to do that.
And tell us more. I've gone through the book. In fact, I've gone through it 2, 3 times. You know the reason why? Because it has so many layers. Once you read it and your favorite Duke is there, it's a metaphor in the book. But I mean, tell us more about the book. I mean, tell us more to the viewers who've not read it still. And the wonderful illustrations, everything we want it coming from you rather than coming from us. Because this
Yeah.
is your project.
Yeah, I mean, so for those of you who don't know, this is my second book called Sad Glad, my first book in the children's space, and basically a book aimed at children around the ages of 5 to 7 years old, just to kind of help kids deal with the ever-changing emotions and feelings that we feel as human beings, and just to help children realize that our feelings and our emotions, they change day to day, sometimes moment to moment, without there really ever being any explanation as to why. And that's okay. That's part of the human experience, and it's okay to feel this range of different emotions and feelings. You just mentioned that you'd gone through the book a few times because there's so many different layers. I think it's the message in the book, although it's aimed at children, is one that serves as a good reminder to people of any age that emotions and feelings, they change, and that is just part of life. And that's really what the book's about.
So very right. At this point, I like to get Dia in the conversations. She's a student of economics at UCL London, and she has her own perspective about the book, and she would like to carry this conversation forward with you. Yes, Dia.
Yeah, hi, Siddhartha. It's so good to be able to talk to you and know more. It's been wonderful reading the book. He's really advocated and like spoken so well that's in the minds of so many people. So, I had a few specific questions about the book.
Sure.
Firstly, in Sad Lad, the concept of naming the emotion to tame it is like a central idea. How has this helped you personally in your journey with mental health, and how do you think this can help others?
Well, I think the thing that helped me the most was sort of, well, twofold. It's firstly coming to terms with the fact that all these emotions exist in this lifetime, and there's really no point trying to fight that or to try to remove certain emotions, because they're there, they exist, and as long as we're alive, we are going to feel them all. And the second part of that, which really helped me, I guess, really sort of start to embrace that, is that it's important not to label emotions good or bad. They just are there and they exist. And that's sort of the main message. What I try to get across in the book is that these things exist. There's nothing that's good, nothing that's bad, nothing you have to try and get rid of. They just all exist, and it's okay to feel them. And then, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like obviously in terms of addressing and acknowledging emotion, that's very important, and that's not something easy to do at any age, much less at a young age. So, do you think that introducing therapy or emotional support at a young age can help children better manage their feelings? And do you think it can play a big role in a child's development? Do you think parents should introduce counseling as
Oh,
a positive to their children?
um, so I think that's a case by case basis, right? I think it's important to see what's right for each child at any given time. But I certainly don't see any harm in it. For me, the reason why I decided to write a children's book is because I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, the things that I've gone through in my life and I've suffered with, I wonder how much of that could have been avoided had there been some conversation around feelings and mental health and all that stuff when I was younger. Now, I'm not saying that we need to turn children into little gurus, because I think kids need to be kids. But I think that if we're able to at least start these conversations and put these things on their radars as children get older and they inevitably start feeling the things that human beings feel, it's not something that's like, oh my gosh, what's going on right now. There's some base level of understanding, and these concepts aren't completely alien to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess that's what your book is also trying to do, like sort of make that understanding clear even from a young age, which is obviously great. And I think introducing that can really destigmatize the idea and like normalize it from a young age, which is of course a great thing. Other than that, I feel in children, of course, like for you, I think you did acting in drama school during your school time, which must have influenced your development, your emotional awareness, and perhaps even your mental health journey. So, how do you feel about creativity as a form of self-care?
Oh, I think creativity is great. I think anytime you have an opportunity to express yourself, it's a great way to really feel connected to yourself, and a really good way to process whatever it is you might be going through. And creativity isn't limited to just the arts, right? I mean, obviously, singing, dancing, acting, writing, these are all creative outlets, and certainly ones that can help. But creativity can come in so many different forms. I think it's about finding out what works for the individual, and then figuring out, okay, what do I want to do, and what's the best way for me to express myself and what it is that I'm feeling.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Uh, I mean, obviously, also that the fact that even for me, I think it serves as a good break or just like a good reminder for myself that, oh, this is like my time, which I can like take to explore and everything. And I had to ask this question because growing up, you get introduced to social media, and then social media is something that affects you at all points in life. It can be both a blessing and a curse for mental health. How do you manage your relationship with social media,
So
especially as a mental health advocate?
yeah, it's interesting that you say that. So you're at UCL, is that right?
Yeah.
So how old are you?
I'm 19. I just
Okay,
turned
so
19.
okay, so you just turned 19. Nice. Happy birthday. So I went to also to the University of London. I went to Queen Mary for my undergraduate and then the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama for my postgraduate. So I understand that whole world and how the university system in the UK works. But when I was there at Queen Mary, this was in 2005 when social media didn't exist.
Yeah,
Right? It
that's
doesn't
true.
seem like it was that long ago, but it didn't exist. So when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, like you, I was able to just have that university experience without any of that pressure of social media even being a thing.
Mhm.
Whereas for you, it's very much embedded, I'm sure, in your everyday, right? So um, I think being able to remember a time when social media wasn't a thing um, sometimes brings me back to how do I say this? To just sort of, it's hard to explain what I'm saying with this, but I think that if I ever feel overwhelmed by like everything that's online, I just have to remind myself of a time when it wasn't a thing and how we were able to function without it.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think it takes away the power of its importance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So very right. And social media definitely has its place. Now we have Dia, I think now we can call Shreya to interact with Siddhartha. Siddhartha, she is an architect practicing in London. She's done her post graduation from there, and she's also a sustainability design specialist. So, Shreya, there you are. You've been so excited to talk to Siddhartha.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you. And
I,
a very fascinating concept. I feel like our generation is going to be the one which is at least the most mentally uh, aware of mental health and how we can take care of it. So I think this is very interesting. I'm very curious to understand sort of your motivation and inspiration. I know you talked a little bit about how the book could have helped you growing up, but just trying to sort of understand more how the book came about and why specifically that age group that you felt that you wanted to talk to.
yeah, well, I think two things. So, how old are you?
I am 26.
You're 26. So I'm 37. Do we class as the same generation? I don't know. Um, maybe, kind of.
It's
Um,
nearer than me and the
yeah,
because of Gen Z.
um, for sure. Um, what you just said is very interesting, which is that it's a generation which is the most aware when it comes to mental health, and certainly probably the most open to talking about it. But I would also say that that is born out of necessity because this is also a generation that is subjected to more stimulation than any other generation has ever been before, right? So because you're subjected to social media and to ways of communicating and interacting with people that just didn't exist in the past, the need for mental health awareness, I think, automatically goes up. Um, and it's only that stimulation um, and that exposure to stimulation is only going to get more and more for the younger generations. So that's why I think it's important that we start talking to start having these conversations at a younger age because kids at 5, 6, 7 years old are, a lot of them have iPads and things like, which just wasn't a thing growing up, right? For me it was more about, and I'm sure the same thing for you, it was more about actual physical human interaction is probably on the decline, just as everything moves online, whether that's social media, dating apps, all these sorts of things are now online. And because of that, I think it's more important that children who are going to grow up with that just being their norm are also protected from the risks that come with social media and having this online presence. Hence why I think it's important that we have these conversations from a younger age.
Yeah, definitely. I think the amount of stimuli, as you mentioned, is just maybe 100 times in comparison to my parents' generation, for example. And I think it's also very interesting how our generation, or sort of our age group, is sort of trying to go back and raise awareness about talking more about your feelings. And that's something that was not really a norm ever, and talking more about healthy communication and healthy ways of parenting and different styles of how they can how this can come up. So I guess this is very interesting and very relevant in these times. One more question I had in mind was sort of the future of the book, in terms of if you have anything in mind for like a second part, or what you hope to achieve, or
Yeah.
a few goals in mind.
Yeah, so I mean, we're in talks currently about with a number of publishers about continuing what we've started and continuing to write. I've always said, here's the thing when it comes to the books, as long as I can keep helping people, I'll keep doing them. So as long as people still want them and they find that they're helpful, I'll keep writing them. The day that people are like, you know what, these have run their course, they don't actually help us anymore, then I'll stop, and I'll find something else and another way that I can help people. But at the moment, the books seem to be helping people, or at least those that are interested, like yourself, in self-work and mental health and that kind of stuff. They seem to be doing pretty well. So yeah, it's definitely part of my plan to continue writing.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be very successful. I feel like books like this, specifically for children, are very effective, because I guess at that age, what's most important to understand is that somebody else also feels the way you feel. There's
Yeah.
one more children's book that I came across about different kinds of um, disabilities inside of children, and the book talked about A to Z of disabilities, and it was so interesting to see the reaction of how excited the children can be about how there are other people in the world who are like them.
Yeah.
Um,
That was one of my big takeaways from writing, if I'm honest, especially when I spoke about OCD. A lot of the feedback from people was that, oh my gosh, like we felt like we were the only ones that felt this way, or we're going through this. It's just nice to hear that someone else can relate to us, right? And I think that's what human beings want. A lot of the time, people aren't looking to be fixed. People just want to feel like they're not alone. Strength in numbers kind of thing. And yeah, you're so right. Just being able to help someone feel like, okay, there's someone else that feels this way. Because a lot of the time when it does come to mental health related issues, it's very easy to feel like we're the only one that's going through what we are, and that there's no one else that could possibly understand what it is we're going through. So hearing someone else talk openly about what they're going through can take some of that pressure off.
Siddhartha, I'd like to ask you here that how liberating has been it for you personally to be talking about your own story, in, if I'm honest, and now further carrying it forward in such a raw and honest way. I mean, this has been the most amazing. We only knew Siddhartha through all these, posts earlier, which were not doing justice to the person that you are. And after this book came out, and after that you started that serial, that podcast, I consider this. And after this second book now, there's so much to you. So how liberating it has been personally for you to be talking about in such a raw and honest way. Hats off to you. And
No,
that
well, I
is,
appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I think it's liberating because I'm able to take ownership of, look, this is who I am. Okay. And this is what I've been through. This is my story, my truth. And there's no point trying to hide from it. So from that point of view, it's been really liberating. But I think the thing that has been the most kind of gratifying from this is just knowing that in whatever small little way I've been able to perhaps help other people going through similar things. And that's the most important thing to me. Like I'd always said, as long as I can help one other person with this book, then it's a success. And that's, I think, what's been the best part of the book is not only being able to share my story, but knowing that by sharing my story in such a candid fashion, I've been able to help others perhaps share their own stories in whatever way.
And one of the most important things that you've also discussed earlier that I've also heard you is about mental health doesn't discriminate. That
No.
is such an important and powerful line. So I would rather that you would speak about this because it happens to everybody. It doesn't nothing to do with money, nothing to do with
No,
any particular
doesn't
circumstances. Yes, I would
nothing
like
at
to.
all. I think so. I think obviously people had a certain image of who I was based on maybe what they'd seen and the family I come from and all that sort of stuff. And when I did my series before the book called Consider This, well, there were people who were like, well, what does this guy have to complain about? His life was great, la 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 la. And I was like, no, I think you're looking at this all wrong. You just assume because I came from a background that's perceived a certain way that everything I had went my way in life and that someone like me, whatever that means, couldn't possibly suffer from anything mental. And the important thing to remember is that everyone at the end of the day is a human being, right? You take away gender, religion, money, upbringing, jobs, whatever, any of these things, ultimately we're all human beings, which means we are all subject to the human experience, which means that we are all we are all subject to suffering from issues of mental health. And mental health isn't going to discriminate based on any of the factors I just mentioned. And once we accept that and stop trying to, say, well, only certain people can feel certain things, and we start accepting that everyone not only can suffer from issues of mental health, but has a right to feel the things they do, then the more I think we're going to be able to take the stigma away from it.
So right. So right. We are nearly near the end of the conversation with or one question each from Dia and Shreya, but I have 2, 3 questions from our regular viewers who were so excited that you're coming. One of them is from Babita Batra, and she's gone through the book and she was totally fascinated by the illustrations, the fantastic
Yeah.
illustrations that you have in the book. So well thought of. So how was the feedback? How did you kind of come up with such a fantastic looking cover and then all the insights that I must show to everybody?
Yeah, well, you can read to your audience who illustrated it.
Yeah,
Viva,
Surya.
yeah, she was fantastic. She was actually introduced to me by my publisher. And we got on a call, we spoke, and I had a sort of image what I wanted. And then she just brought it to life and really I couldn't have been happier with the way that the illustrations depicted what I wanted to get across in the book. It was great.
And there's a second question from Alka Khanna. She says that how did you find balancing the fun, engaging aspects of a children's book with the seriousness of mental health? I know we've
Yeah,
spoken.
I think the important thing is that it needed to be fun. Right? It shouldn't have come across in a way that like you're trying to teach children lessons. again, I only go by how I was in school. If I was having fun, then I was interested to learn. If I felt like I was being taught a lesson, I wasn't interested. And I think that was the important thing, is that, you know, the important thing was to still make this book engaging, that a kid would want to read it. And then at the same time, have a message underneath it all.
Fantastic. And there is one more question that this book, and this is from Alicia, Dr. Alicia. She says the book has been released in India, but if we want to find it abroad and want to look for it, is it available in other countries?
Yeah, I think I have to check where it is now, but it's available on Amazon worldwide. In the UK, you can get it at, I believe, at Waterstones, WH Smith's, any of the sort of major booksellers. You might have to get it online, and I think in the US the same thing. It's available at a lot of the major booksellers. So yeah.
So Dia, you wanted to ask one more question, so here's it to you.
Yes. I've been wanting to ask, obviously, you've been through a significant personal journey. So, I mean, in the end of this conversation, what are some self-care habits or practices, basically tips you would recommend to people who are just beginning to prioritize or perhaps acknowledge their mental health for our viewers?
Yeah, I think what's important is that one figures out what works for them. For me, I love going on walks. Any form of exercise for me is great. I just, you know, when I go to the gym, whatever class I'm doing, it's not just to work out. It's a very meditative experience for me. So anything that involves kind of like movement of the body, that sort of works for me.
Yeah, I get that. I guess everybody has to explore on their own, but these are some of the common things that people tend to use as self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was a very interesting conversation. I feel like we were also discussing amongst ourselves. The reason all three of us wanted to be here is the three different age groups that we see, and how all of us in our own spheres have seen the effect of mental health awareness and what difference it can make in just, at first, just being aware that somebody else is also feeling the same way, and then second, taking the step towards prioritizing it. So I guess this is really interesting.
Thank you, Sidhartha.
I know.
It's been a
Of
wonderful
course.
conversation. Yes, would you like to speak further on this? Yeah.
No, I just want to say that, you know, thank you for getting me on this. And were both the girls, are you both in London?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
you are. So
working.
it's like it's at 5 a.m. for you now or something, no?
Yes. It's
Oh,
6
crazy.
a.m.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you joining for this. And yeah, it's look, I have to say that it's nice to have platforms like this to be able to go and talk not just about the book, but to be able to have conversations where one gets to spread awareness around mental health. So a big thank you to all of you for the platform and for the work that you do. And it was fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddhartha. And one big takeaway is that it's okay to suffer from mental health issues and talk about it and accept them and carry on forward. And such a positive conversation always with you, Siddhartha. May you keep on writing books, and may we keep on meeting you and perhaps meet you also someday.
Yeah, hopefully in person sooner rather than later.
Yes. See you sooner.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Lovely.
Bye.
talking to you. Bye.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
time.
Thanks.